everybody else in the room, all the staff, little babies. I'm David Barker. I retired from St. Simon the Apostle on Bloor Street in 2012. I live in West Guildford and attend church at St. George's in Haliburton. That's 12 kilometers away from West Guildford. It's a bit of a commute. It takes about 9 minutes, unless someone else is on the road, and then it might take 10. But because it's quiet there, it doesn't mean that we're not aware of what is going on in the world. Like everyone else, in May 2015, we were distressed by the tragedy in Syria. The rector of the parish of Haliburton, the Reverend Canon Ann Moore, and the church wardens decided to explore possibilities. They contacted ORA, the Anglican United Refugee Alliance. ORA agreed to speak to us in October of that year. In September, while Anne was on holiday, it fell to me to preach at St. George's the Sunday after the iconic image of the drowned Syrian toddler was splashed across the news media. The readings for that Sunday were Proverbs 22, verse 9. Those who are generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. Psalm 125. Show your goodness, O Lord, to those who are good and to those who are true of heart. James 2. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says, "Go, I wish you well, keep warm and well fed," but does nothing about the physical needs, what good is it? Mark 7. The story of the Syrian woman who begged Jesus for mercy for her daughter. That Sunday, the whole congregation agreed we had to act. In October, we met with Ian McBride of ORA. In mid-November, we invited any and all in the community who were interested to meet with us to plan what we might do. About 95 people showed up, people from all the churches, from other faiths, and people with no religious affiliation at all. Everyone who was concerned came. We organized ourselves around how we would like to help. People self-selected to join committees on life skills, transportation, health, accommodation, fundraising, household setup, English as a second language. ESL alone had 40 people sign up, many of whom were experienced ESL teachers. We had 83 people filling 115 positions on our committees. Overseeing it all was a steering committee of 7 people. The enthusiasm in the room was exhilarating. The host of the local radio station's morning show asked if I could tell the community about our venture the next morning. So, overnight, literally, we had a website, a Facebook page, both with links to canadahelps.org. So we were ready to receive donations, and we also had an email address. As soon as the radio interview ended, my phone rang with a person telling me he had just made a donation. In short order, we had cards distributed throughout the community. The vestry of St. George's decided to make the rectory available for a refugee family to use. Community service clubs contributed. Concerts were dedicated to the cause. The high school students took this on as a major fundraising event. The kids paid money to throw pie in a teacher's face. And they paid money to take a day off school. Did I mention Haliburton is a pretty special place? We soon had enough money raised to formally request a family. ORA dealt with the government on our behalf. Our committees for accommodation, household setup, and fundraising were in full swing. Life skills, ESL, transportation, and health were busy doing groundwork and planning for the day of arrival, which would be, we had no idea when they would arrive, who they would be, how many would be in the family, or what country they would come from. We did police background checks for everyone who would interface with a family. We received sensitivity training from ORA and from Plan to Protect, as well as from our own research. We had promises of furniture, clothing, kitchenware, and lots of toys. A knitters group was busy knitting quilts for the beds, but we did not yet know what nationality or size of family we would receive. Then we heard about major delays in receiving refugees. So we focused on our uniqueness. We told Laura we have a 5-bedroom house. We can take any size of family available. Within 2 weeks, we were told that a family of 11 from Syria had been selected to come to Haliburton, with children ranging in ages from 1 to 19. We were ecstatic and anxious. Could we really pull this off? Everything moved into high gear. The rectory was painted and repaired. Its garage was given a new steel roof. I hate heights, and yes, that is me. Then the rooms were filled with furniture, the kitchen with dishes and food staples. Even the freezer was filled with halal meat. Our bank account was healthy. We had raised over $64,000. The 40 or so ESL teachers reviewed their teaching aids and their plans for sharing the work. On September 19th, our welcoming committee of 4 met the Wiesel family at the airport. After a very long flight from Lebanon to Egypt to Toronto, and 4 hours of administration by government officials, the Wiesels came through those sliding glass doors to their first taste of Canada, Tim Hortons airport sandwiches, which they eagerly devoured. Then followed a 3-hour drive to their new home. At this point, the majority of the work shifted from those who had done preparatory work to those who would help the family day by day. The family knew no English. Our volunteers accompanied them on their shopping trips, helping them learn what were reasonable prices and what were not. The cashiers in the local stores were patient and helpful. In fact, the whole community was helpful. Sean Pennylegion, the chair of our committee who helped the family settle, said the experience was like being on tour with the Rolling Stones. As they walked down the main street of Haliburton, well, yeah, there is another street. People would stop their cars, jump out, leaving the car running in the middle of the street with the door open. Believe it or not, this happens a lot anyway. And rush over to welcome the Wiesels to Canada. Local businesses offered the teenagers part-time work after school. The family were involved in all the festivities that took place in the community. Local restaurants and businesses gave generous gift certificates for the family. They learned to skate. They learned to ski. They experienced that lovely Canadian winter joy of a horse-drawn sleigh ride. The father, Yusuf, was invited to volunteer at the local fish hatchery. This would give him valuable Canadian work experience. I didn't make this up, there it is. As much as the rest of us did to help the family in their first year in Canada, it was the small army of volunteers who helped daily, teaching them English, taking them shopping, driving them to medical appointments, not only in our community, but to specialists in Toronto and Peterborough. If you can imagine the trust the family placed in us when they did not speak our language, but went with us to a variety of medical people for their services. Fortunately, smartphones, translation apps, translators in other cities enable us to navigate our way through tough times. The ELS teachers, ESL, I get that mixed up, set up a classroom in the rectory which became a daily hub of activity filled with ESL teachers, teaching aids for students of all ages. Little Nassim and Rama learned to sing the alphabet song and other children's songs. The adults and other children all were helped with materials appropriate to their age. Some of the ESL volunteers attended school with the children, sitting in the classrooms and helping the children understand their schoolwork. The local dentists chipped in, drilled down, filled in, and helped brighten the smiles of the entire family. A local optometrist offered his services, testing everyone's eyes. In addition to the necessary trips, our volunteers helped the family to find ways to enjoy Canada. We took several trips to the local mosque in Peterborough, an hour and a half away. And that's where the joke comes in. A priest, a Jew, and a Muslim walked into a mosque. And we did. Of course, this was coupled with visits to other Syrian families and the chance to shop in a bigger center. One excursion was to Ottawa, where the family were welcomed by our Member of Parliament, and they experienced the wonder of our Parliament buildings. At the end of the year, we decided as a committee that we would hold a thank you event for everyone who had contributed. However, when the Wiesel family got wind of it, they took over, decorating the church hall, preparing food, making speeches, and giving flowers to all the people they had helped, that had helped them. There were many tearful moments. It's now over 2 years since we began this journey, and a little over a year since the Wiesel family joined us in Haliburton. We've all been changed by the experience. We've made new friends, not just the newcomers to Canada, but the new friends we found in our community as we worked so closely with them. There have been many challenges along the way, but at each difficulty, we knew that we could look to each other for support. I stand in admiration of all the people who have worked together to bring Yusuf, Khayab, Hassan, Bayan, Rehab, Faisal, Hosaifa, Mohammed, Khadir, Rama, and Nassim, not only to our community, but into our hearts. So don't be daunted by a task that's too large for you. You do your part, others will do the rest. Thank you.